water trucks in it.
Yeah.
And stuff there,
Yeah,
but even then,
but even then you get that dry wheat that you can start.
oh, that's right. Okay, call this meeting to order, Colorado County Commissioners on Tuesday, September 5th, 2017, stand for the pledge. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this public comment will be short. Any updates on anything?
Yeah, I was in on the fire call this morning. Fall Fest is underway. We're gonna be working with the LEPC on an emergency plan for that. And Board of Crime Control continues to be a source of a lot of work.
Just that we finally got blue sky for a little while.
Yeah, 'cause it's supposed to sit back, it's saying the heat's supposed to come back in, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, business as usual as far as for me. Minutes as sent out, are there any additions or corrections?
Move to approve as submitted.
I'll second.
Okay, these are for August 28th and August 30th. Move the second to accept the minutes as sent out. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Like we have any COS. Some mail items here. This is from Helen Sand and Gravel, they're having a appreciation barbecue. 22nd. DEQ, Bridger wastewater treatment, Bridger. County's postage meter. Okay, we have claims here in the amount of $23,344.26.
Move to approve that we pay the approved claims in the stated amount.
I'll second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Pay claims in the amount of $23,344.26. Vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. County's phone charges is for the senior citizen. Same thing for commissioners. Another notice from DEQ, this is for Four Corners Water and Sewer District. Forest Service, South Helena, final environmental impact statement.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Fish and Game environmental assessment, this is for those leases on the project down here. The ranchers that have those leases. Meetings that are going on in San Diego. This is a workshop for Montana Water Utilities in Lewistown. DEQ and DNRC. From DEQ, public notice of OT Mining Corporation, Basin. Apparently a renewal for their permit. I think you said it was gonna be gone, Mike, this guy's, Corey, Jessica, is gonna be here either.
She's not gonna be here. Dana's not gonna be here.
Linda and Mike Myers. Mike's,
I'm gonna go see if Mike's.
yeah, if you would, please.
Sure.
Oh,
Hello there.
how you doing?
Good, you guys?
We're still about ready to adjourn.
Oh, it's not a very full meeting, huh?
No. Some of them aren't gonna be here. Corey Llewellyn from the Forest Service, and Jessica isn't gonna be here. Dana isn't gonna be here, so just Linda and Mike Myers are the only two that.
Oh,
So you can tell stories or do whatever you want.
yeah.
Or do you have something you wanna bring up, or we just see it, wait just a second. Was Mike here?
He was in his office and Nicole's gonna call him.
Oh, okay.
Mike's up in Wynn's office right now. We were just trying to figure out this, maintenance, we're supposed to pay 30,000 or something of his budget. And of course, I wanna get it figured out, cause I don't wanna, we can't go without that department, that's for sure, so. But I don't know where it comes out of, and I've been trying to figure out the history behind it and talking to Nick Cortals and stuff, and I guess we were under the impression that it came out, but I'm finding that it hasn't ever came out, and I don't know where it was supposed to come out of then if it hasn't came out. So, and I talked to Commissioner Delger a little bit about it, and I don't know if you found out anything else, or
No, I talked to Dave, but she said she was gonna look into it some more and find out.
So I did a follow-up with Debbie
To
this
Debbie.
morning.
Oh, okay.
She said that it was always talked about, but it was never actually voted on in a commission meeting. She's gone through the minutes and she said it was never voted on for it to come out. I mean, and don't get me wrong, they do their fair share of work over there. I mean, we can't go without them, that's for sure. I mean, it would cost us a lot more money, but I don't know where we're supposed to pay for that, as our maintenance budget for there is $8,000, so. Talking to Nick Corthals, it used to be a lot more. He was under the impression that it was upwards of 20-some thousand is what he thought. And I said, well, it's 8,000. So, that's what we're trying to figure out. So, cause obviously
Hey,
we need
Nicole.
Mike to get through the year full staffed. Don't wanna see anything
Would you
happen
please
there.
ask Debbie
So,
to come down too when
he
Mike comes down?
thinks that he-
Thanks.
Has some ways that he can, cut some spending and things like that, and then we didn't use $4,500 of our maintenance budget, remember I was showing you those numbers. I can't remember the exact, account, but we didn't use 45, so I mean, maybe there's some more invoices that needed to come our way and things like that, which would relieve a little bit from his budget as well. And he wasn't aware of that either, so, we have a few things that we can do, but I guess we're confused on where we're gonna come up with $30,000, so.
And he's talking with Wynn now, Mike, is that right?
Yeah, we were just up there trying to figure it out. Debbie told me that she's gonna find it in our budget or our cash to take out of, which just puts us further back on trying to build up our cash reserves. So, she said that we have to like file an appeal or something with you guys so we can talk about it and get some things figured out of where it's gonna, cause I think it was the 23rd of August, that meeting that I think was a decision made that we were gonna pay the 30,000 and go with the practice of the vote. I think it was from 14 or 15. I can't quite remember that, but what exact year. But Nick was still a captain with the sheriff's office when that was brought to them, so to the commission at that time. So I don't know, is anything ringing a bell? I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it. So.
Well, with me at this point, and Debbie was checking on that too, you said, or
Yeah, Debbie,
I guess Mike said Debbie was working on it too.
yeah, and I called Debbie, and what she said was that there was no decision actually made back then. There's never been a transfer out to that department, to the maintenance department. And what else it was, and basically that, now she was just gonna have to find it within our budget to remove the 30,000 out, from the vote that you guys did on the 23rd, was to go with the idea or practice or the, decision that was made back in 14 or 15, when Captain Corthals was in the detention center there, so.
So this is all coming out of the sheriff's budget
Well,
then?
it was somewhere.
Is the way it is
Yeah,
now at this
it
point.
was explained that it would come out of our cash, which just is $30,000 more out of our cash. I mean, I don't know how that all works, but it seems to me that after our last meeting, that needs to be built up to 33%, which is probably, what's that, $600 and some thousand, so. But we were just discussing it because obviously I can't go without Mike or Eric and their services, otherwise it's just gonna cost us a lot more money somewhere. But we're just trying to get to the bottom of it, so.
Ramsey, you and Wynn were just discussing, did you come up with anything at this point yet, or?
Well, kind of what my suggestion is not taking the 30,000 out of their budget. And I'll just, I don't know where the 30,000 came into my budget, so, I mean, if you have to take it out, and then I'll manage it the best way I can. And when I come to a problem, before a boiling point, then I'll come to you guys and we'll talk about it. I mean, I don't know what else to do on it. And they have about 4,500 left in their maintenance budget. Talk to them, maybe that can be helped pay for that. And then, you know, I've been having about 15,000 a year left over in savings. That could help pay for it. And then also, you know, it does cost a lot more when you buy local around here. We all know that, because I can buy a lot more when I go to Home Depot, and I have been doing that. And that's where a lot of my savings have been coming from too. And we also cut so much in contracted services, and maybe there's some other things we can do in energy savings that can help fund it. You know, people start turning the computers off every little bit, you know, those computers still eat, you don't eat up a lot, but a lot of people don't turn them off. I see them, I walk through just about every morning. And if they start turning their computers off at night, you know, it all adds up. We have a lot of computers in this building, including the sheriff's station, everybody, you know. Maybe we start decommissioning a few lights. You know, take the ballasts out so they're not fired. Because a lot of people don't even want half the lights they have in their offices. So, I mean, we can start cutting, making accommodations. I mean, it happens, it's like in your own budget, in your own house. You have something happen, you gotta kinda readjust and make it work. I mean, that's my suggestion, is we try to figure out how to make it work. When we come into, I do some things, you know, for energy, more in energy savings. I think need a little help with them with their leftover on their maintenance budget, that they always have leftover every year that I don't use. And, you know, we just be real cautious with what we spend on and what we do. So it's up to you guys.
And I think that, if I remember right, and Laura, you've been in a lot of the meetings with us, is, when we've sat down and we've said, hey, we need to trim some things off here and there, I think that I recall, Sheriff Meehan looking at our maintenance for that building, and I know Mike spends a lot of money over there, so I'm wondering if we've been trimming that off as we go here, because of we're seeing that we're not spending that, so, well, we didn't spend this much, so we cut it down and cut it down. And I'm wondering, just talking to, and I have not looked at the numbers, but talking to Nick Korthals, it sounds like he thought our maintenance was upwards of $20-some thousand. Well, it's $8,000. So I'm wondering if we hadn't, that transfer never happened, and we thought it did, and we were getting that, so we just kept trimming that off. I don't know if that's what took place, but somehow we've got from a bigger maintenance budget down to a smaller one, without maintenance actually getting what they're supposed to be getting for the work that they do in that building. So, I mean, I just wanna say that we definitely cannot go without Eric and Mike. I mean, there's no way that we could go without them. I mean, we've spent $50,000, or more, I guess, with having contractors in there. I mean, just the other day, we're probably gonna, $2,000 bill versus just Mike coming in and taking care of something, so. And the time that it takes for them to order the parts and come back and schedule and stuff, it just doesn't work, cause things don't stop over there, so. I mean, I think we're willing to do, whatever we can, but I just don't think that, I think we need to find either that 30,000 or whatever that amount was. I'm just worried about it coming out of our cash, which affects our cash reserves. It seems like we need to build that up, and it just keeps, if we keep using it, I guess we're never gonna build that up, so.
If I may share some history to help educate you, Brandon, I know you were a deputy at the time, and Mike, you're new to this commission. Previous to whatever year it was, I think it was 2 years ago, maybe 3 budgets ago, the sheriff's department had their own janitorial staff. Therefore, they had their own line item for that staff. At some point, that personnel was shifted into the general fund. There were no funds that followed it, the money stayed with the sheriff's department, the general fund absorbed that employee. As Mike, with his expertise in construction, was called more and more next door, that continued to be absorbed by the general fund. No bills were sent to the sheriff's department, no personnel costs were shifted to the sheriff's department. Nick came to the commission in, I believe, early in the year, February, March, and said he's been talking with Mike, and they had decided that it would be cost effective to hire an assistant to Mike because of all the time and work that was needed specifically for the detention center and some of the offices in the sheriff's department, which have now been completely remodeled. The agreement was, if you would let Mike hire an assistant, the sheriff's department will pay $30,000 of that, essentially half, when you look at the full wrap rate and all the things that go with a new employee. So we agreed, and I understand, Debbie, correct me if I'm wrong, that first year that money was taken from sheriff's department, put into the general fund as a cost share for that employee. So the next year, the sheriff's, was that not the case?
I can't find it.
Okay, well, it was supposed to be,
Supposed to.
somehow it got missed, it wasn't done. That I think will chalk up to an error. The next year, the commission decided that we were not gonna shift that money because your budget was having a lot more difficulty than the general fund. We'd already absorbed so much from the general fund for your department, so the thought was, well, we can do it again, not a big deal. The next year, I believe, is this year. Correct me if I'm wrong, I might be missing another year, but the thought would have been the same.
I think it's,
Your budget was struggling, general fund was looking strong. Last year, we took about 3 mils from the general fund and gave it to public safety in order to help you guys solidify your budget. So, we didn't do the 30,000. Again, just being nice guys. This year, your budget is one of the stronger ones. The rest of the county lost the 5.11 mils. That was taken from all those departments, mostly from the general fund. And this year, we're looking at a general fund who's going into the next year with absolutely no reserves. That 30,000 is essential to keeping personnel. You say it's important to keep Mike and Eric. That 30,000 is essential to keeping that because we simply don't have it in the general fund. We have depleted the general fund to zero. This year, we need to uphold the agreement made 3 years ago. So we had a discussion about the budget. We were looking at the numbers. We did vote, 3-0 vote, to go ahead and follow through with the agreement made with Nick in whatever year that was. So that's where we're at now. If you guys have another plan, that's great. But if it's going to be business as usual, we need to have a serious discussion about what that looks like, because the general fund has no money and has a really big obligation this year. So, that's where I'm at, that's the history. We've tried to be good guys to help you guys. And this year, all we're asking for is that you uphold an agreement made by Wynn's predecessor and the detention administrator at the time.
and I don't think that, I don't wanna speak on behalf of the sheriff, I think that in the meeting that we just had, our concerns were is the cash reserves, and that we're at 9%, and then we take 30,000 more out. I mean, we're looking at ways of how are we gonna cut to get our reserves up. So,
And Debbie, how would that affect, they'd go from 9 to 9, right? 30,000?
I know it wouldn't be much, but
Well, the final budget I passed out included that $30,000 transfer. So whatever the percentage on the sheets I passed out is where they're at, including the 30,000. I think it dropped at 2%. Well, they were at 9, I think it dropped down to 7.
so I,
I
So
didn't
the
get with me.
their reserves, 30,000 dropped it by 2 percentage points? That seems
I'd have to double
outrageous.
check. I played with those numbers so many times, they've been up and down and around.
When
I
you're
didn't grab
talking
it.
30% of $2 million, which is what the reserves really ideally should be. 30,000 is not gonna be a 2% hit,
I guess,
just
and
no way.
we're talking with Debbie, and maybe I heard wrong, but there was never an actual vote and agreement?
I couldn't find anything in minutes.
So I'm not trying to fight over that or argue against it. I guess the sheriff's office is requesting that I guess we have to file an appeal with you guys, or if we can have another meeting to discuss it and get it figured out with Mike and the sheriff present, is what we're requesting.
It's not an appeal, it'd be an amendment to the budget that we need to do.
I guess that however we get another chance to come in front of you, have some more time to sit down with Debbie and go from there is what we're asking for. And in the meantime, with what we can come up with, we think that, what will work.
I haven't even taken the time to look at the minutes, but I will tell you from sitting in those meetings that there was an agreement. Maybe it was just verbal, maybe it's worth just the handshake. And I do believe that a handshake is worth its weight in gold. I don't believe that we only have to have things in writing in order to uphold agreements. It's really your decision, I guess, at this point. The commission made a decision that the work that Mike and Eric do for the entire county is invaluable. And keeping that staff as they are to continue with remodel projects, to continue with inline grinders, to continue with cadaver coolers, concrete work, the host of things that are done is important. But it really has to be you guys having some skin in the game too. We spend a lot more than the 30,000 in the sheriff's office. We do bottom line budgeting, Brandon, so it's a matter of actually you're working the budget, you guys, your leadership. It's, I don't mind having the discussions. And I think at some point we're gonna have to have a real serious sit down about this, but it was an agreement. There is documentation. We can certainly look on YouTube.
And I'm not
So-
arguing about that whatsoever, I know it was discussed, I'm not saying that I'm trying to go against the agreement. I'm trying to sit down and see what our other options are before we go with $30,000. So that was the request from the sheriff, and discussing with Mike, that's where we would like to go, so.
Did you say that your maintenance budget last year was 8,000?
I haven't exactly looked at, maybe Debbie could help me out here, but yes, yes, it was 8,000, and we had, there's two accounts that you can kinda go to maintenance. One was 6,500, went to zero, and the other one was 8,000, and it had 4,500 or 4,600 left in it, am I right or am I wrong?
I can't say when we're
Okay.
ready.
So looking at our papers that we got, that's what it looked like, those are the numbers that I provided you. I mean, there's 4,500 there that obviously, I think some of the work that got done over there could have been, some of the invoices and things like that, which we can work with Mike on more, but I think that we're just requesting that we have another sit down with the commission on that decision, so.
How long do you think to get the rest of this data and everything? Would you wanna be on the agenda next week?
Yeah, I think next week would probably be fine, I think I need to sit down with Debbie and Mike and the sheriff, and maybe we can get some things figured out, but.
Okay.
Are we to the point now where we're not gonna be spending $28,000 over there on maintenance? Do you have everything pretty well caught up on what?
I have everything caught up, but the thing is, it's a 12-year-old building. And I'm noticing a lot more in the last year, just a lot of failures. It's kinda like I've had relays that go out all the time. That's what it is, it's 24/7 facility. It is never shut down like your house. So you're always you always get some stuff, it's like, was couple weeks ago, I had sliders went out, and it was because relays, one of the relays went out upstairs. Nothing's ever labeled, there's like 300 and some relays in a panel. So you got, you gotta go through and figure out, and now I know where almost all of them are. But, you can get stuff like that. We had another light and another one go out, and it was just, it was funny, cause it would've cost probably county quite a bit of money, and it was, alls it was the plug connector behind the light, in the light housing went out. Why would that go out? Nobody ever touches it. And then we have another one, you know, you just get things that burn up, because they're always on. They're on a lot more than here. The lights, the, you know, water, we go through, I forget how many gallons we figured one time. It was an astronomical amount of water they go through. You know, and everything's electronic. Showers are electronic, all timer relays, all behind everything. So there's always things going wrong.
So if that 3,500 that you guys had in your account that actually got spent leaves us 4,500, is that something that you think is a constant, that every year your basic offset maintenance is $3,500, that leaves us 4,500, can we take that 4,500, just take 9,000, put it into his maintenance budget simply for that? That gets us down to 21 that we would require.
And I think that's what I need to sit down with Debbie and go through that, but I'm kind of trying to recall our budget meetings that we've had, and I think that number has gone down over the past few years, maybe not a difference from last year to this year, but I recall a meeting that we sat down and we had to make a pretty significant cut, and I think that it was higher. I just want the opportunity to sit down with Debbie, maybe look at the history of it, and if it isn't, absolutely, you know, Mike does give Tammy some claims and or invoices for us to pay. Whether that needs to be more, or we take that and put into his or whatever, I mean, I just,
The ones I turn in usually are for 911 though. They're supposed to go to 911. Any invoices I turn in are supposed to go to 911, not
So-
something else.
I guess I need to figure out what are we spending on that account, and what, you know, why.
Yeah, because if
Something
we've got
outside of-
8,000 in there, you guys are only off of what Mike and Eric are doing, you're spending 35, we could take the other 45 and stick that back into maintenance. If you got a leftover from last year, that gives us 9.
I would just like to look at the history of it
Yeah.
and see what, you know, why last year that wasn't spent. And, you know, if it's consistently that, then yeah, we should do something different there, that's for sure. And that'd make it a little easier, but, you know, I need to, I can't remember what there's 2 accounts that are kind of for maintenance. I think one is contracted services, and that one was completely, depleted, and it was, I think, for when you bring in like an electrician, and what do you pay for that?
The only thing I brought an electrician for was the 911 and new digital radios. I had to have a new circuit put in.
Which that was part of
And
the,
then he put a box, and then I wired from the box to the unit.
yeah, so that would have been part of the radio
Yeah,
deal there, but,
the only other time you guys call in is like if I'm not here or something, and you call, like Donnie has a habit of calling in Montana overhead door, when your overhead door goes.
If I may enter this just for discussion's sake, first of all, Mike, you know this from the trainings we went to, but we do bottom line budgeting. So when there's a line item and it says salaries and wages at $489,000, well, salaries is a bad example, office supplies at $10,000. If you overspend your office supplies, it doesn't mean you've overspent your whole budget, because what you do at the end of the year is you actually take from another line item to make that whole. We look at the bottom line. It's called bottom line budgeting, so it's not a line by line budget. But repair and maintenance, $40,000 was budgeted for this year. There's another repair and maintenance services, $35,000 was budgeted. Contract services, $10,000 was budgeted.
that's,
We also have another repair and maintenance line item, that's $8,000, as we were talking about. There's another one for $5,500, and then contract services for 2,500. So,
Can I interject one
Sure.
more thing? Those first two, that's our fuel and our, vehicle maintenance.
can you have another contract services for 15 grand? So, yeah, okay, it's for vehicles, for some of those, but what I'm saying is, it's not just the 4,500, there's more money there.
And I-
Also, we do bottom line
Yeah.
budgeting, so it's a combination of all the line items. Wherever you wanna work with it is fine, if you wanna have another meeting with us, that's fine. The thing is we've gotta get to the point where we are actually more of a partner, because we cannot continue to have the general fund law enforcement services, because we just don't have enough money in it. We can't go out and raise taxes, we can't raise any more money than we have. We've been as generous as we can, and probably we've been too generous when you look at the state of the general fund now. So that's the reality that we have to look at when we're looking at the health of the entire county, not just one department.
And I understand that 100%. What I don't understand is a meeting that the sheriff is not present, Mike is not present, 30,000 gets decided to come out of your budget without any discussion with us. I'm not saying that there's nowhere we're gonna find that. I'm not here to argue, I'm asking for time. Let us actually sit down instead of having it come out of our cash reserves and find it within our own budget. Maybe we can do that. I think that the sheriff wants a voice in it and time to figure out what are we gonna do. And first of all, why hasn't it ever been coming out? Because it was our impression that it came out. We're finding that that's wrong, it didn't ever come out.
The reason
Why is
why,
that?
I answered before, but I'll
Okay.
answer it again, we
But
were being
that-
good guys, we were trying to help you out.
And that's fine, I know, we appreciate that. I'm not trying to argue about it, I'm telling you that they do their work over there, that we can't go without them, but we want a chance to find it within our budget. Yeah, we had $95,000 left over in total, I understand the bottom line in budgeting. You know, maybe we could find it within all of that, if we have to take a little here, a little there, but actually allow us to put it in our budget instead of, I'm just, after last meeting in our cash reserves, it doesn't seem like we're ever gonna have 33%, it seems like we're always gonna be in the hole, so why continue to take away from that if that's what we're doing? So, I just want an opportunity to sit down with Debbie, Mike, figure out what we can do, and then come back and have a discussion of what we've agreed upon with you guys. If you're okay with it, we'll move on. If not, I guess we'll have to pull it out of there if that's what if you guys are gonna stick with that agreement.
But you don't need to work with us on that.
No, that's what
You
I'm saying.
have a
we'll
whole
work.
year to figure that out, so you guys could work on it yourselves. I mean, you don't need to have it done with us.
Well, that's fine. I was just told that I had to do some sort of an appeal, and maybe that's not the answer.
The only thing we would be looking at with an appeal or an amendment is no longer having that agreement. Severing that relationship would be the only thing we'd be looking at on an official capacity. Again, with the bottom line budgeting, you can work with Mike and Win Debbie any day of the week, and you should be working weekly together anyway. But you can work together as a team to figure out how you're gonna fund it within your own budget. You don't need the commission for that.
Well, then we'll just go there if that's where we need to go then, so. Yeah.
You still wanna get this information, meet with us and lay out what you found and
Well,
everything?
I think that, yeah, just to inform you guys of what we found in the decision, what concerned us is that there was a decision made without us being there, and then money is coming out of our cash reserves, and we just had no say or anything in it, and we just wanted a chance, hey, maybe we can figure something out here. You know, discussion with Mike, maybe there's some things that he can do where it doesn't have to be that much. I'm not, you know, I can't say this enough, that, you know, we're not saying that he's not worth his weight in gold, that's for sure. I mean, him and Eric are a huge part of our office, and yeah, we absolutely wanna keep it that way. But I think that, you know, knowing this, we could've went into the budget talks and had been a little more prepared and things like that, and actually found it. I mean, obviously, we have it somewhere.
So will that work out for you folks then, I'll get on the agenda for the 11th?
Yeah, I would.
That agenda had to be done last Friday, Franklin, you could revise it if you want, or it'd be the next agenda.
Oh, that's right, because
I think the next one would be fine. I don't think it's
Okay.
like a huge rush as long as.
the next
And
time we
the
can get it on.
19th is the
we'll go with
NACO
that then.
conference, so
I
we
won't be
should not
here.
have a commission meeting, so we'd be talking the 26th, I think.
There you
Yeah, I think so.
go. I'm gone.
Yeah, it'd be the 26th then.
And if Mike's not here, I think this is, if the direction you wanna go could very well affect that department hugely, I think you need to be here.
Yeah,
So now we're
I'll be
looking
here
at,
the 26th. or
Oh,
whatever
okay.
it is.
oh, the
I won't be-
26th,
I won't be here the week of the 18th.
okay.
I'm try to take my aggression out on animals.
Okay, we'll get you set up on that date then.
I guess that concludes my public comment.
Yeah, okay, okay. We'll get this part of it done and go from there, what you guys
Okay.
find out. Okay. I think,
Debbie,
back
when Linda's done, could you kind of stay and give this commission a little bit more of a one-on-one on the budget? Maybe the Title VII, Chapter 6 that defines our role as the governing body for the county, so that this commission knows what our role and responsibilities are? Thanks.
okay, we'll get back on track here. 10:45, Linda Huth, Museum Coordinator.
You want me up there?
Yeah, well, wherever you wanna be.
I'm-
I mean, you're on the agenda right now.
I'll be wherever you want me to be. Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't really know why I'm here, so here we go again.
I guess mainly it'd be just kind of an update on how things are going there and things, how they're looking on your budget and everything at this point.
Things are going really well at the museum. We had a new gal this summer and she's worked out fairly well. I think we've been busier this year than ever since I've worked, and that's 7 years. I'm planning some, I think, pretty great new displays for next year. We'll be at Fall Fest. We've gotten in a lot of acquisitions this year. Pretty interesting stuff and fun. And the budget, I guess I'm not real clear on the budget again. The last I knew, well, let me back up a little bit. When Debbie asked us to cut where we could cut, and if not, she would do it, I contacted her and told her where I thought we could cut. And then there was a meeting where Laura and Mike had gotten their heads together and decided to use a CD, I think. And then the grapevine told me that that wasn't working, wasn't going to work, and I never heard anything official. So I guess I would wonder if what I had proposed got cut.
I guess Debbie could answer that.
Nothing was cut.
Okay. Thank you, Debbie.
They didn't change that, so they were left the same. CDs isn't what we thought it would be, so that's whole thing changed too.
Okay.
So
Okay.
everything should be good.
Okay. And can we get into Black Mountain? Are this year's budget forms ready and are they on there?
I got them uploaded, so they should be out there to go
Okay.
see.
Cause every time I go and try, nothing's there.
Yeah, I got that done.
I figured that.
Wednesday afternoon
Okay,
before I went home, so it should be there.
okay,
And if you can't print, let me know, and we'll try to get Lindsay on the phone. She'll probably have to work with you and make sure your printer hookup is right. She'll have to walk through you if
yeah,
that's
cause
the
I
issue.
got a new printer.
Oh, no.
I never thought about that.
So I might email yours to start with.
Well,
You
I'll,
can see it
okay, I'll try and
until we
print
get some of
it.
those little kinks worked out if there's a problem.
Okay, okay. And I had one more comment. Last time I was at a meeting, which was last week, you talked about having some budget training, 101. I would request that there be a PowerPoint or handouts. If nobody has time to copy handouts, I will gladly come over so that, and copy them, so that we know what column this trainer is talking about. And, I mean, I think this budget process is just about the process from hell. I don't think it could be any more confusing, and I don't envy you your jobs. But I understand that I need to know what the bottom line is. But I need to know how I get there and what all these things mean. I hear all of these terms of SIP and reserve accounts, and I don't know what they are. Evidently, we must be doing something right over there. But I don't know the difference between the two. I don't even know if there is a difference. And I don't think I'm alone. And so I really do think that you need some training. And I completely agree that we should be responsible for our own budgets. We should know where we stand and what we're doing, and I totally agree with that, but it's Greek to me.
I think you are right, you're not alone, but I will tell you, you're one of the few with the guts to actually admit it. So thank you for that.
Well, it's a little bit embarrassing. When I started, Natalie said, I'll do the museum's budget, don't worry about it. I kind of got to thinking about that, and I thought, I just really wish we had a say in this. And so we started getting a say. And, but now I think, maybe I should get my motion. I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding. And I do appreciate all you working with us, all you've done, and truly appreciate that. Now, anything you have to say to me?
Yeah, I like your bygones you have in there, in the paper lately.
Aren't those fun?
Yeah, you know, it used to be years ago, the Town Star always had that in there, you know. And I'm glad to see you're reviving it.
It's really a lot of fun to write them.
And it's interesting because so many of those, I'm at that age now where
I know,
they're bygones, all
I
right.
know. Thank you
But-
for that, Frank.
But I do. And the other thing is, the gal working, now do you charge daily for when people come in, or is it just donations on that part?
It's a free will donation.
Okay, that's what I kinda thought, I wasn't sure. Well, that's all I had. Anybody else got anything for Linda?
I have a little something to share on the budget. Debbie's right, we didn't cut any of your expenses, your revenues stayed the same. We had a problem with the general fund, as you may have heard a snippet, and it is at 0 reserves. It's in sorry shape, and we need to be extremely nervous about moving forward and what we do about that. So one of the things that we did is to fund the litigation fund, we took the cash reserves for the museum.
Okay.
You had a little over 33%, and off the top of my head, I don't remember what that was, maybe 45. We took that all the way down to 14%, and we put that money in the general fund, in the litigation fund. We do have an agreement, and I'm gonna give you a copy so you can hold us to that. The agreement is that we're going to prioritize refilling those reserves for you and fair, extension, senior services, search and rescue, airport, ambulance, health insurance. I think that's it. But that will be our priority next year. If you need help at the end of the year, let us know. We're gonna have to reserve some PILT in order to help any of the departments that we depleted your cash reserves. But it was the only way to fund the litigation fund and balance the general fund without layoffs. What we're gonna tell everybody in the general fund this year is you've got to put aside your own reserves. So that essentially, they've got a year to save 10% for their cash reserves so that they can continue to operate from July to November.
Okay.
You guys are fine because most of you had super strong budgets anyway. We gave you, an agreement, you stuck to it. You guys flew, you did great, and it was the only option we had, so,
That explains what you've been talking about,
yeah.
that I didn't understand. Okay.
Yeah, Mike McGinley does a presentation that's more geared to new commissioners, understanding our responsibilities with budgeting. Just recently did it at a Mako training that we 3 attended. So did Debbie and Michelle. I'm gonna ask him to actually, it's a PowerPoint and there are handouts. I'm gonna ask him to actually gear his presentation to some of the questions that we've had here, so that people are hearing the answers, not just from me droning on at this table, but from another commissioner with far more experience. And it'll be another chance for this commission to understand what our responsibilities are too.
Okay.
So you'll have your request.
I don't
and-
have to come over and copy?
Nope, you don't
I
have to
will
pull a
if you
copy.
need me to.
But I do think you're not alone, but not enough people have voiced the fact that they don't understand for us to know that they didn't understand.
It's
So I
obvious to
appreciate
me
that
from
from you.
attending these meetings that I'm not the only one.
Right, yeah, and this year probably more so than
Yeah.
previously, yeah.
I do have to back up. You asked me if there's a fee. No, there isn't. But we did make a ruling a few years ago that we will charge if you want us to do research for you. And there's a lot of genealogy research over there. If you come in and you want to do the research yourself, and all you want me to do is drag out the files and there is no charge. But if you want me to do the research, we do charge. Because we realized how much time we
Oh,
spend doing that. And it's only like $15 for the first hour and then $10 for every hour after that. And people who are serious about doing genealogy research, they don't hesitate at all to pay. So I just wanted to clarify
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Is that all?
Oh, one more thing. It was an idea that was brought up during the budgeting process to have all the department heads come and give reports on a weekly basis. Since you and Jessica are a totally different monster than some of our other departments, because you answer to your board, I would say it's up to you. If you wanna come see us every month, that is absolutely fine. I'd love to see you. If you wanna come quarterly or biannually or whenever you feel a need, that's fine too, as far as I'm concerned.
I don't care. Quarterly? Is that?
Okay,
You fine, yeah.
that sounds good. Yeah, and if you want more or less, let us know.
I will. And so
Alright.
then when you want me to come, you'll put it on the agenda, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
All right.
Are we done then? Are you done with me?
Yeah.
Unless you have
Thank
anything
you.
else.
Thank you.
Thanks, Linda.
Thanks for all that you do.
Thanks. Franklin,
Kimber.
there's a request from the audience.
Oh, excuse me. Go ahead.
May I come up?
Yeah, you bet.
I have 2 issues, actually. One,
Excuse me, sir, your name first?
before we go on the record, because I'm here for a specific reason, but since the undersheriff is here, and we have, in the dim light of the trial coming up, not sure if this is known, But I did some research about funding and so forth for the trial because I happened to sit in last time. Just as if anybody is interested, state of Texas had problems with that in very rural counties that were strapped for cash. And they actually have established a fund, kind of like an insurance deal for capital murder cases, where proportionally counties pay into it and it will be covered out of that fund. So, you know, the populace here may be open to addressing that for future. We don't know where it's going, so anybody wants any information, I'd be happy to share.
Yes.
For the record, John Graylord, proud resident of Winston. We have an issue that the neighborhood is very much struggling with. As you probably know, one of our most famous, infamous neighbors, mine, has opened again. Comes and goes. The issue at hand currently is that they are siphoning water out of our fire suppression water tanks. This has been going on. It started on August 14th on a daily basis. As an aside, they purchased apparently a decommissioned fire truck or fire tank truck. Never took off the markings. It still says Towston Fire Department. So whenever they pull up to the fire hydrant, nobody questions it. Everybody waves and says, "How you doing?" because they're assuming it's the Towston Fire Department filling their tenders, and obviously everybody's in favor of supporting the fire departments. So they're passing themselves off as a fire department, if you will. Initially, they hooked up right next to our Winston Fire Department station house. There's a holding tank. My understanding is the holding tank holds about 12,000 gallons, and I believe a tanker truck load is 4,000 gallons, so it's enough for 3 fills. I was there with Baum, Darrell Baum, who is no longer the fire chief, and we measured 2/3 were gone. And it's not self-refilling, it's a holding tank. Yes, there is a well there somewhere, but it is not hooked up. So what happens is when our fire truck legitimately comes to fill their truck to fight a fire, eventually when they're done, they have to truck the water and refill the tank. Okay? I personally saw the mine. By the way, the mine is a foreign entity. It's a Canadian company. Has nothing to do with us. It's for commercial purposes. It's a gold mine. This is fire suppression water. And I believe at this time where everybody's very much aware of the fires going on, I mean, all you have to do is take a whiff outside. This is outrageous what's going on. When I wasn't there, another neighbor has seen it, which would account for taking off twice water, bringing it down 2/3. Since then, apparently they noticed that they're going to be siphoning the tank dry. They went to the subdivision, the Mountain West subdivision. They have, I believe, 2 holding water tanks underground, specifically designated for fire suppression only. And I believe you were there at the time. When that subdivision went in, I was at the meeting, a commissioner meeting, and I raised the issue, what is if we're bringing in 27 more homes into, well, not a congested area, but an area that sits across the railroad tracks from the firehouse, what is our fire situation, fighting situation? And based on my input, the regulations were changed, and the subdivision plan or whatever was forced to install those tanks with a well on a meter and so forth. Okay? So now, because I initiated it, it's there, and the Canadian company is coming on a daily basis at least once, taking water from there. Now, this is a hot button issue in the whole neighborhood. Okay? We've contacted a neighbor of mine, contacted Stan Hone, who's now the new Winston Fire